Is silence truly the ultimate power? We've all heard the phrase, silence is power. And yes, silence can command respect, ignite curiosity, and make people wonder what's on your mind. It's a tool wielded by great thinkers, master strategists, and legendary leaders. But here's the question. Is silence alone enough? Does simply staying quiet truly give you an advantage? Or is there a more refined, more powerful strategy, one that doesn't just make an impact, but leaves a mark that can't be ignored? Welcome to Stoic Station, where we blend the timeless wisdom of Stoicism with modern psychology to help you master your mind, presence, and influence. Today, we're diving into a bold idea, a strategy even stronger than silence. Silence has power, but it also has limits. Silence is a weapon. It gives you control. It makes others lean in, speculate, and wonder about you. But if you rely only on silence, you might be missing out on an even greater power. Because what I'm about to share isn't just another tactic, it's a game changer. A way to leverage your presence so that you don't have to say much, yet people remember you. You shape how others perceive you without forcing attention. You don't just enter a space, you leave a lasting impression. This isn't about talking louder. It's not about being overly expressive. It's about precision, control, and subtle mastery, a skill the Stoics understood deeply. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Don't waste time arguing about what a good person should be one." That quote holds the key to today's lesson. It's not about the absence of sound, it's about the presence of power. Why this strategy matters. Whether it's your career, relationships, or personal growth, you have the power to influence. But true influence doesn't come from what you say. It comes from how you exist in the minds of others. It's about the way you shape perception, the way you leave an impact, the way you make sure your presence is felt, even after you're gone. Have you ever felt like silence alone wasn't enough to create the impact you wanted? Have you ever wondered how to amplify your presence without saying too much? Then this video is for you. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to learn might just change how you move through life, starting today. If you're here to master your presence, not just exist, but create real influence, then let's spread Stoic wisdom together. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a lesson. Comment 1 if you like this content, or 2 if you think I can improve. Most importantly, write this in the comments. I use my presence wisely. Write it. Say it to yourself. Believe it, because mastering your presence is where your journey to greatness begins. Now let's dive into the strategy that goes beyond silence and gives you a power that cannot be ignored. Start with silence. Before we explore a strategy even more powerful, let's first understand why silence has stood the test of time as a tool of influence. The Stoics knew its power. The great historian Tacitus once said, "Silence is safer than speech." And that couldn't be more true. Silence protects your energy. It stops you from saying things you might regret. Most importantly, it creates mystery. Think about it. When you are silent, people wonder what's on your mind, and that uncertainty. It's often more powerful than any words you could say. In a world where everyone is trying to be heard, silence becomes the loudest statement. Why is silence so effective? When you stay silent, you create a void, a psychological space that people instinctively feel the need to fill. The psychological pull of silence. People project their own fears, hopes, and insecurities onto you. They interpret your silence in ways that might grant you authority you never even claimed. The power of silence isn't just in what it doesn't do, it's in how it contrasts with noise. We live in a world flooded with sound, news, arguments, endless conversations. But when silence appears, it breaks the pattern, forcing people to pause and pay attention. Used correctly, silence gives you control. It allows you to set the tone. It lets you steer the conversation in your favor, and without saying a word, you can gain the upper hand. Silence in action. Imagine this. You're in the middle of an intense argument. The other person is throwing accusations, trying to provoke you. Most people would jump in, defend themselves, explain, argue back. But you don't. Instead, you stay silent. You hold their gaze, calm, steady, letting their words hang in the air. What happens next? They start feeling uncomfortable. They begin doubting themselves. They realize they've lost control of the situation. That's the power of silence. And it's not just in conflicts, it works in negotiations, relationships, even casual conversations. When you are silent, people lean in. They try to fill the gap, to understand you more. They want more. But here's the problem. Silence is powerful because it's rare. Overuse it, and it loses its edge. Misuse it, and it turns into passivity. Sometimes silence leaves too much open to interpretation, and there are moments when silence alone isn't enough to create real influence. So the question is, how can we leverage the power of silence without falling into passivity? What strategy goes beyond silence and creates an even greater impact? That's exactly what we're about to uncover next. Beyond silence, when presence becomes power. Silence is powerful, but it's not everything. There are moments when your absence isn't felt the way it should be. Moments when people stop wondering and start forgetting. That's why silence alone isn't enough. To create real influence, you need something more. A strategy that blends the quiet strength of silence with intentional action. And this is where the Stoics reveal a deeper lesson. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Silence is how you control yourself. It's how you master your reactions. But the Stoics didn't stay silent just to stay silent. They were silent when it served their purpose, and they acted when silence was no longer enough. So yes, silence is power, but it's only the beginning. Because there's a strategy even stronger, a strategy that takes everything great about silence and elevates it. A way to combine the mystery of silence with the undeniable impact of presence. And that's what we're about to uncover. Before we continue, let me ask you, have you ever felt the power of silence in your own life? A moment when saying nothing gave you the upper hand? If so, take a second to acknowledge it. Like this video right now if you've ever used silence to control a situation. Comment, "I master silence and action." Write it. Own it. Believe it. Because silence is only the first step. If silence is the art of saying nothing, then presence is the art of saying everything without a single word. Presence, the secret of influential people. Silence creates mystery. Presence creates power. Presence makes you memorable. Presence creates influence. Most importantly, presence makes you impossible to ignore. The Stoics understood this balance. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts." That means the way you think, the way you appear to the world. When your mind is strong, disciplined, and intentional, it reflects in your body language, your attitude, the energy you project. That's why presence is even more powerful than words. Think about this. When someone walks into a room with confidence and calmness, people notice. They don't have to say a word, yet their energy commands attention. And even after they leave, their presence lingers in the minds of those who met them. Presence doesn't disappear when you leave the room. It stays with people. It makes an impact. Silence controls, presence commands. Silence creates a void that others try to fill. Presence commands respect, drawing attention effortlessly. But this isn't about being loud or flashy. It's about subtlety. It's about how you carry yourself, how you stand, how you make eye contact, how you control the space around you. Because when you are calm, confident, and intentional, you send a clear message. I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it. That kind of unshakable energy shifts the dynamic of any situation. The power of non-verbal communication. This is where deep psychology comes into play. Humans are wired to react to non-verbal cues. Your posture, your facial expressions, your movements. All of these directly influence how others perceive you, without a single word. If you appear calm, people assume you're in control. If you act with purpose, they assume you have a plan. If your presence is intentional, they are forced to take you seriously. Silence helps you control the game, but presence helps you command it. Are you ready for the next level? In the next section, I'll show you how to train your presence, so you naturally draw people in and become impossible to ignore. If you're ready, comment below. I master my presence. Say it. Believe it. Because this is where you start taking control of how the world perceives you. When presence and silence unite, power multiplies. Here's something fascinating. When you combine intentional presence with strategic silence, your impact doesn't just double, it multiplies tenfold. But presence isn't just about what others see, it's about how you feel about yourself. When you cultivate true presence, you train yourself to remain unshaken, no matter the circumstances. Presence begins within. The Stoics believed that self-mastery starts from within, and your presence, it's the external reflection of that internal mastery. Epictetus once said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them." When you master your mind, you stop displaying worry, you radiate certainty, your presence becomes unshakable. Let me give you an example. Imagine walking into a room. In that room, there's someone you admire. They don't even need to acknowledge you. Yet, you feel their presence instantly. Their energy fills the space. You're drawn to them, wondering what makes them so captivating. That's the psychological power of presence, not because of what they say, but because of what they project. And here's the truth. You can cultivate that same energy within yourself. Presence makes them remember you. Silence makes people wonder about you. Presence makes them unable to forget you. And when you combine both, you create an undeniable force. The best part, presence doesn't require permission. It doesn't need validation. It simply exists. Your presence is your statement. It's proof that you've risen above the noise and claimed your place in the world. So let me ask you, how do you show up in the spaces you occupy? Do you merely exist, or do you truly make your presence known? If you're ready to build a presence that commands attention and leaves a lasting impression, comment below, I master my presence. Because your presence isn't just about what they see, it's about what they feel. Why action is the deciding factor. The Stoics had a simple yet profound philosophy. Your actions define you. Silence and presence are powerful foundations, but they mean nothing without intentional action. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You must become an old man in good time if you wish to be an old man long." What did he mean? Your future, your legacy, your influence, they are all shaped by the actions you take today, not by your words, not by your silence, but by your actions. Because action is the bridge between intention and reality. It gives meaning to your presence. It adds depth to your silence. The final question, are you just silent, or are you taking action? Now ask yourself, are you simply staying silent, or are you acting to shape your world? If you're ready to take control, comment below. I master my presence and my actions. Because this is the moment you stop merely existing and start influencing. The subtlety of action, when power doesn't need to be loud. Here's the beauty of it. Action doesn't have to be loud, it doesn't have to be dramatic. The Stoics believed that the most powerful actions are often the quietest, deliberate, calculated, unshaken, a calm decision, a steady hand, a quiet move toward progress. These carry far more weight than 1,000 rushed words. How action truly makes a difference. Imagine this. You're in a heated debate. Everyone is arguing, raising their voices, fighting to be heard. And you? You don't rush to defend yourself. You don't fight for attention. Instead, you remain calm. You listen. You observe. And when the moment is right, you act, not to prove a point, but to solve the problem or steer the conversation toward something meaningful. A single action, rooted in logic and purpose, can be more persuasive than any argument. This is controlled, precise, undeniable action. The psychology of action, why it matters more than words. This is where deep psychology comes into play. People are influenced far more by what they see than by what they hear. When you act with purpose, your actions shape how others perceive you. People react to movement, not noise. If they see you moving forward with intention, remaining composed in chaos, making powerful moves without seeking approval, they can't help but respect you. They might not say it, but they will feel it. The Stoic approach. Control what you can, your actions. The Stoics instinctively understood this. They didn't waste energy on arguments. They didn't chase recognition or try to convince others. Instead, they focused on the one thing they could control, their own actions. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor." The same applies to action. Don't crave attention. Don't crave recognition. Act with purpose. Move in alignment with your values, and let the results speak for themselves. The more calculated your actions, the more powerful your presence becomes. Action, not for others, but for yourself. But here's the key. Action isn't about impressing others. Action is a statement to yourself. When you show up for your goals, when you stay committed to your path, you are building trust in yourself. And self-trust? It's the foundation of true confidence. The Stoics believed self-mastery is the highest form of power, and action is the path to that mastery. You can't just think about becoming strong. You must act your way into strength. Now, I have a request for you. Comment below, I act with purpose and master myself. Because from this moment on, you don't just exist, you take control. The perfect strategy, when silence, presence, and action unite. This is where everything comes together. Silence creates mystery, presence draws attention, but action cements your impact. When you combine intentional silence, powerful presence, and calculated action, you don't just stand out, you leave a mark. Think about this. Every action you take, no matter how small, sends a message. Do your actions tell the world that you are calm, intentional, and in control? Or are they random reactions driven by impulse rather than purpose? The Stoics remind us that every choice reflects who we are. So, choose actions that reflect your strength. Let me ask you, when was the last time your actions spoke louder than your words? If you're ready to embody the Stoic principle of purposeful action, like this video and comment, "My actions define me." Because words can be forgotten, but actions create a legacy. Dark psychology, understanding how others perceive you. Now let's take this to the next level. To master yourself, you must also understand how others perceive you, how your presence influences them, how subtle actions shape their thoughts. This isn't about manipulation. This is about perception. The reality. Perception equals reality. How others perceive you influences how they respond to you. It determines how they treat you, and it even shapes how they think about you when you're not there. The Stoics knew this instinctively, even if they didn't call it dark psychology. Epictetus once said, "First, decide who you want to be, then do what you must do." This is the key to controlling perception. Define how you want to be seen, align your actions, presence, and even your silence to reflect that image. How presence is shaped. Imagine this. You walk into a room where you know no one. Scenario 1: You hunch your shoulders. You avoid eye contact. You fidget. What are you communicating? Uncertainty, insecurity, lack of control. Scenario 2: You walk in standing tall. Your shoulders are open and relaxed. You maintain steady eye contact. Without saying a word, you have already influenced how people see you. That is perception management. That is how you project power, even in silence. Why dark psychology gives you an edge. Humans constantly read and react to subconscious signals, your posture, your facial expressions, how you move. All of these send messages that others instinctively interpret. If you appear confident, calm, and intentional, they will sense it. If you seem nervous, unsteady, or passive, they will sense that too. Now, the question is, will you let others perceive you randomly? Or will you actively shape how they see you? Master the 3 pillars. Master silence, master presence, master action. From this moment forward, you don't just exist, you take control. Comment below, I control how others perceive me. Because this isn't just theory, this is how you change the game. Perception management. Controlling how others see you. If you appear calm and confident, people assume you're in control. If you act with purpose, they see you as decisive and capable. And when you combine confidence, intentional action, and strategic silence, You create a natural magnetism. People don't just notice you. They keep thinking about you long after you've left the room. But let's take this even further. Creating attraction when people can't stop thinking about you. What happens when your actions are deliberate but you don't over-explain them? People start asking questions. Why did he do that? What is he planning? What does he know that I don't? This curiosity builds attraction. It keeps you in their minds. It shapes their perception of you, even when you're not there. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology gave it a name. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but rather never beginning to live." In the same way, you shouldn't fear how others perceive you. You should fear not taking control of that perception. Perception is power, so make it count. Every action or inaction contributes to how people see you, so why not make those actions count? Perception management isn't about manipulation. It's not about faking it. It's about aligning how you present yourself with who you truly are, or who you're becoming. Because when your presence, actions, and silence reflect inner strength and clarity, you're not just managing perception, you're building your reputation. And that reputation is a form of power no one can easily shake. How to put this into action? Start with small things. Pay attention to how you present yourself. Be aware of the messages you send through body language, facial expressions, and actions. Ask yourself, do these signals align with the person I want to be? If not, adjust them, because perception isn't fixed. It's something you shape every day. Now ask yourself, what impression am I leaving on people right now? If you're ready to take control of how others perceive you, affirm it. Like this video now, comment below, I shape my reality. Because how you are seen isn't just up to others. It's up to how you take responsibility for your presence. Controlled visibility, the ultimate power move. We've explored the power of presence, silence, and perception management. Now, it's time to tie everything together with a game-changing strategy. Controlled visibility. This isn't about being everywhere or disappearing completely. It's about showing up when it matters most. It's about appearing with purpose, leaving an impression so strong it can't be ignored. That is the essence of controlled visibility. Why this strategy works. You don't need to be constantly present in someone's life to create impact. In fact, if you're too available, your value decreases. The Stoics understood this long ago. Epictetus once said, "First, know who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." Controlled visibility is about knowing your value and revealing it strategically. Mastering controlled visibility. Here's the key. Choose the right moments to engage. Show up with purpose. Take actions that leave a mark, instead of flooding a situation with constant presence. You focus on quality over quantity. For example, instead of texting or calling someone all the time, you reach out only when it truly matters. Instead of attending every event or meeting, you make your appearances count. What does this do? It creates curiosity. It builds respect. It makes people value your presence. Because people value what is rare. And when your presence is scarce yet powerful, you become a unique asset. The dark psychology of controlled visibility. This is where deep psychology comes into play. Humans are drawn to things that feel exclusive and intentional. If you're always available, people subconsciously take you for granted. But if you appear only at key moments, they are forced to pay attention. They start asking, why is he here now? What is he thinking? What is his purpose? This curiosity makes you unforgettable. The power of controlled visibility. It sparks intrigue. It builds respect. It leaves a lasting impact. Because controlled visibility isn't about absence. It's about strategic presence. Are you ready to own your presence? If you're ready to take control of how others perceive you, affirm it now. Like this video immediately. Comment, I show up with purpose, because from this moment forward, you don't just exist, you make an impact. Controlled visibility. When you show up, you are felt. When you appear, you do it with purpose. Your body language is strong. Your actions are intentional. Your words are carefully chosen. And when you leave, you create a void that others can feel. Because it's not just about being seen, it's about being felt. The Stoic mindset. Show up with purpose. The Stoics believed everything you do should align with your values and purpose. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Let your thoughts be ruled by principles." That's exactly what controlled visibility is about. Acting with clarity and purpose, making your presence count. Example, showing up strategically. Imagine this. You've been silent in a relationship or a social circle for a while, but instead of returning randomly, you choose an important moment, a meaningful conversation, an event that truly matters. And when you speak, you are concise and calm. When you act, you are precise and purposeful. And when you leave, you've created a memory, a moment etched in their minds. That is controlled visibility. That is strategic silence. That is presence with purpose. Own your presence, not for others, but for yourself. Controlled visibility isn't just about influencing others. It's about mastering yourself, knowing when to step back to focus on your growth, knowing when to step forward to make an impact. The Stoics believed that ultimate power lies in self-control, and controlled visibility is your chance to practice that mastery. It requires discipline, it requires patience, it requires confidence in your own value. And when done correctly, it doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. Are you ready to control how you show up? Ask yourself, do you show up in ways that truly matter? Do you appear with purpose, or are you trying too hard to be everywhere? Because this isn't just a strategy, it's a way of life. Now, you understand the concept of controlled visibility, but how do you apply it most effectively? That's what we'll uncover next. Mastering controlled visibility, turning strategy into action. Controlled visibility isn't just a mindset, it's a practical strategy. A strategy you can apply to every area of life, from relationships to career to personal growth. The key is finding the perfect balance between presence and absence, silence and action. This requires discipline, timing, unshakable belief in your value. So how do you put this into practice? Here are 6 powerful steps to implement controlled visibility effectively. Step 1. Start with self-awareness. Before you control how others see you, you need to understand yourself. Ask yourself, what impression do I want to leave? What values do I want my actions to reflect? The Stoics emphasized self-reflection. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts." When your actions align with your principles, your presence becomes authentic and powerful. Controlled visibility starts with knowing who you are and what you stand for. Step 2. Choose your timing wisely. Quality over quantity. You don't need to be in every conversation or every event to make an impact. Instead, identify key moments where your presence is most valuable. In relationships, show up in key conversations where your opinion carries weight. In your career, speak only when your insights truly push a project forward. When you appear selectively, people pay attention. Step 3. Act with intention. When you decide to show up, make it count. Your words, body language, and energy must align with your purpose. Principles of intentional action. Speak clearly, stand with confidence, move with purpose. Even small actions, a handshake, a glance, the way you listen, leave a lasting impression when done intentionally. The Stoics believed in action over empty words. Seneca once said, "Words without truth are meaningless." Controlled visibility equals actions that resonate long after you've left. Step 4. Practice strategic absence. Absence doesn't mean disappearing completely. It means stepping back, so when you return, people feel your presence. If you're always available, your presence loses its impact. But when you step away at the right moments, you create a sense of scarcity, which makes people value you more. This isn't about being distant or cold. It's about letting your absence speak for itself. Strategic absence doesn't weaken your influence, it amplifies it. Step 5. Become unpredictable. One of the most powerful aspects of controlled visibility is keeping people guessing. When people can't predict when or how you'll show up, you become magnetic. Dark psychology teaches that unpredictability increases curiosity and respect. Don't let your patterns become too obvious. Keep them wondering, what's his next move? Because mystery equals attraction. Step 6. Focus on long-term consistency. Controlled visibility isn't about one big moment. It's about building a reputation over time. Selective presence plus intentional action equals you become someone people respect and remember. The Stoics taught that greatness isn't achieved overnight. Epictetus once said, "Nothing great is created suddenly." Stay consistent, stay disciplined, and trust that every action you take is shaping how people perceive you. Now imagine this person. They only speak when they have something truly valuable to say. They show up at the perfect moments. Every action they take aligns with their values. Wouldn't you respect them? Wouldn't you remember them? That's who you will become when you master controlled visibility. You won't just be seen, you will be felt. Are you ready to show up with strategy? Ask yourself, how intentional am I about the way I appear? Do I make my presence meaningful, or am I spreading myself too thin? If you're ready to apply controlled visibility and leave a lasting impact in every area of life, take action now. Comment, "I show up with purpose," because this isn't just a tactic, it's a way of life. Now, let's talk about a psychological phenomenon that makes controlled visibility even more powerful: the contrast principle. This isn't just a dark psychology tactic, it's also a Stoic philosophy. The concept is simple but incredibly powerful. Value is amplified when it's experienced in contrast to something else. Think about this. Silence is powerful when it follows noise. Presence becomes magnetic when it interrupts absence. Action carries more weight when it contrasts with hesitation. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Epictetus once said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by their judgment of things." Contrast shapes perception. When you alternate between absence and intentional action, people's perception of you changes. Your silence isn't just silence, it becomes a statement. Your presence isn't ordinary, it becomes an event. Contrast forces people to pay attention to you, even when they don't want to. Contrast makes you unforgettable. Let's compare two types of people. Type 1, always present, always available, always talking. They are always around, they always have something to say, they are always accessible. Over time, their presence loses impact. People start seeing them as background noise, not as someone special. Type 2, rarely present, but when they are, they leave an impact. They are silent and observant most of the time, but when they speak, their words carry weight. When they act, it is decisive and powerful. Contrast makes their presence stand out. It's not just what they do, it's when and how they do it that makes them unforgettable. This is where dark psychology comes in. The human brain is wired to notice change. We react more strongly to what is different, what is unpredictable. When you alternate between silence and action, absence and presence, you make people curious. They start wondering, why is he silent right now? What's his next move? Why does his presence feel so significant? This curiosity keeps you in their mind, even when you're not there. Contrast triggers emotional responses. This isn't just about perception. Contrast affects emotions too. Absence makes people appreciate your presence more. Purposeful action makes people rethink your silence. This is why controlled visibility is so effective. It leverages the contrast principle to amplify everything you do. Your silence becomes deeper. Your words become sharper. Your actions become bolder. And the best part? You don't need to explain yourself. Contrast will speak for itself. The contrast principle doesn't just influence others, it changes you. When you practice controlled visibility strategically, you start to notice a shift within yourself. You become more confident because you no longer need to be constantly present to be noticed. You start valuing your own actions more, because every time you show up, it truly matters. You stop getting lost in the noise. You learn to control when and how you appear. This isn't just a tactic, it's a way of life. Now, ask yourself, how are you using the contrast principle in your life? Are you strategically leveraging absence, or are you too predictable? If you're ready to master the art of contrast to amplify your influence, take action now. Comment, I use the contrast principle to create impact. Because from now on, you don't just show up, you create an effect. Mastering the contrast principle when your presence becomes magnetic. The Stoics understood the power of contrast, not just as a tool for influence, but as a way to sharpen the mind. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." Reflecting on the contrast between life and death, between opportunity and regret, sharpens our focus on what truly matters. The contrast principle isn't just a tactic for influence, it's a way to elevate your purpose. How to apply the contrast principle effectively. 1. Be intentional with your changes. Don't disappear or reappear randomly. Do it with purpose. Step back when your presence starts to be taken for granted. Step forward when it will have the most impact. Create a pattern, but don't let it become predictable. The unpredictability of contrast keeps people engaged. If they can always anticipate your next move, your impact fades. 2. Take bold action after absence. Your return shouldn't just be an appearance. It should be a statement. After a period of distance, your actions should be meaningful and intentional. Because this is where the power of contrast is strongest. One perfectly timed word, one decisive action, can shift the entire momentum of a situation. That's the power of contrast. 3. Combine controlled visibility with the contrast principle. When these two strategies merge, they create an unstoppable force. People will begin to associate your absence with anticipation, your presence with impact. That's what makes this strategy so powerful. It doesn't just leave an impression, it makes them want more. Are you leaving enough space for people to feel your absence? Ask yourself, are you creating contrast in how you show up? Are you leaving enough space for people to appreciate your presence? If you're ready to master the art of the contrast principle, take action now. Like this video immediately. Comment, "My impact is undeniable." Because when you combine purposeful presence with the contrast principle, you don't just exist, you dominate. The core of everything, self-mastery. Every strategy we've discussed, controlled visibility, intentional action, the contrast principle, these are tools, but true power comes from one thing: mastering yourself. Because when you master yourself, you don't need to seek attention, you don't need to chase recognition. You become a natural force that others cannot ignore, and that is the ultimate peak of personal power. The Stoics believed that self-mastery is the foundation of all influence, all power, all achievement. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Empowerment isn't about controlling others, it's about controlling yourself. It's not about manipulating the outside world, it's about mastering your inner world. Because how you carry yourself, how you act, and how others perceive you, all of it starts from within. Your presence, silence, and actions are only powerful when backed by an unshakable mind. What true mastery means: developing the discipline to act with purpose, having the confidence to stay silent when it serves you, aligning your presence, actions, and mindset into one undeniable force. Step 1. Master your mindset. Self-mastery begins with how you think. Epictetus once said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view they take of them." This means your reactions, your emotions, your sense of control, all of it is in your hands. Because when you train your mind to remain calm under pressure, you project an energy that others can feel. You become unshakable. That's where real empowerment starts, by standing firm, no matter what happens. Step 2. Develop discipline, the foundation of mastery. Mastery is not a moment, it's a process. It requires consistency, daily habits, commitment to self-improvement, The small, disciplined actions you take every day form the foundation of your confidence, your presence, your unshakable mindset, because when you trust yourself, others will feel your strength. Here's the beauty of it. When you master yourself, you stop needing external validation. You no longer chase attention or approval, because you already know your value. This is what makes controlled visibility so powerful. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You show up with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Step 3. Align it all when your actions become a statement. Mastery isn't just internal strength, it's alignment. Your presence, silence, actions must all reflect your values. Because when this happens, you create authenticity. And authenticity is magnetic. People can sense when someone walks the talk. Their actions match their words. This is why the Stoics emphasized living virtuously. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." Mastery isn't about having everything. It's about knowing you are already enough. When you reach this level, you don't need to overcompensate with noise or constant presence. Your energy becomes a statement. Your actions are intentional. Your silence is purposeful. Even your absence is felt. This is the power of self-mastery. It amplifies everything you do. Are you ready to master yourself? Ask yourself, are you in control of yourself, or are you being controlled by things outside your power? Do you act with purpose, or are you just reacting out of habit? If you're ready to master yourself, affirm it now. Comment, I master myself and control my reality. Because when you master yourself, you don't just exist. You become a force that cannot be ignored. Master yourself, the source of all power. Everything we've discussed, controlled visibility, strategic action, presence, contrast, it all starts with you. Because true power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from mastering yourself. Here's the truth. The path to self-mastery isn't easy. It requires patience. It requires reflection. It requires the willingness to face yourself, both your strengths and your weaknesses. But the rewards, they are worth it. Because when you master yourself, you don't just influence others, you inspire them. Your presence becomes a reminder of what's possible. Your absence becomes a call for reflection on what they've lost. That is true power. Ask yourself, do you control your mind, actions, and energy? Or are you letting external events dictate who you are? If you're ready to take full control of your life, if you're ready to empower yourself through self-mastery, take action now. Comment, I am the master of my life. Because real power isn't about manipulating others, it's about controlling yourself. We started with silence. We explored the power of presence. We delved into the art of intentional action. We mastered the principle of contrast. But through it all, one truth remains. Your greatest power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from mastering yourself. Now turn knowledge into action. Because this isn't just a lesson, it's a way of life. In my opinion, silence, it's not just a tactic, it's power. It's a reflection of deep inner control. In a world where everyone is rushing to speak, to prove, to assert, few realize that true presence isn't in the noise, it's in knowing when to stay silent. Silence is not avoidance, it's not weakness. On the contrary, it's strength. It's the ability to hold your ground, master your emotions, and resist impulsive reactions. When you understand when to be silent, you don't get pulled into pointless arguments. You don't let others manipulate your thoughts. You stay in control. But silence alone isn't enough. If you're silent without presence, you risk being overlooked. Silence must be paired with confidence, intention, and a steady demeanor. The ones who truly command the game, they don't just know when to hold back. They know when to step forward and make an impact. Because in the end, real strength isn't about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. When you no longer seek approval, when you know your worth without needing to prove it, you earn respect. Not because of what you say, but because of how you carry yourself. Everything we've discussed today comes down to one core principle: self-mastery. The strategies we've explored, controlled visibility, intentional action, and the power of contrast, are only as strong as the mind that wields them. Stoics believe life isn't about what happens to you, it's about how you respond. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." Every moment is an opportunity to live with intention, act with purpose. Present yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth. Controlled visibility isn't just a strategy, it's a way of life. It's how you move through the world with clarity, focus, and quiet power. And this is where real transformation begins. But let's be clear, nothing we've discussed matters unless you apply it. Because knowledge without action, it's worthless. So I challenge you, start small, stay silent when necessary, step back when it serves you more, and when the time comes, show up with purpose, presence, and intent. Controlled visibility isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right thing at the right time. Now think about this. How much stronger would your relationships be if you applied this? How much further would your career go if you lived with more intention? How would your daily interactions change if you controlled your presence? Imagine walking into every room, every conversation, every opportunity, with the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't just exist, but commands respect. That's what happens when you master yourself, your presence, and your actions. You don't just leave an impression, you leave a legacy. And here's the truth. Self-mastery isn't easy. Controlled visibility takes patience. Building a presence that speaks louder than words? That takes time. But if you stay committed, the results will speak for themselves. People will react to you differently. They'll lean in when you speak. They'll respect your silence. They'll feel your absence. That's the power of self-mastery. That's the power of someone who owns their life. So now, I have one final question for you. Will you keep blending into the crowd? Or will you start showing up with purpose, clarity, and control? Because from this moment forward, you're no longer just existing. You're in control of your destiny. If you're ready to take control of your thoughts, your actions, and your impact, start now. Hit the like button. It's a small action, but it's the first step toward mastering yourself. Then drop a comment below. I leave a legacy. Say it, write it, believe it, because that is who you are becoming. If you haven't subscribed to Stoic Station yet, do it now. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video that sharpens your mindset, discipline, and inner strength. This is the journey to self-mastery, and I'm with you every step of the way. And remember, true power isn't about seeking attention, it's about mastering your thoughts, words, and actions. Let your life be the proof of the discipline and purpose you live by. Keep moving forward, keep mastering yourself, keep leaving an unforgettable mark. See you in the next video.